The Dungeons & Dragons minifigures have been out for over a month and I'm still absolutely in love with their designs. I made 14 more custom minifigures and I wanted to show them off today because you guys seem to enjoy the last ones. To start it off, I made an assassin style figure with the torso from the Aarakocra and the legs from Strahd von Zarovich. I've given her a green cloak with a green mask, but then I've used Zaz Tam's collar piece just to poke out a little bit of dark red and give it a little bit of flair. I really love how this torso looks with dark green arms and it makes it look a bit less like a jumpsuit. For the hair, I've used Killy's hair from The Hobbit and it's definitely one of my favorite hair pieces. It's unfortunate how expensive it is nowadays. Overall, I'm really happy with how this figure turned out and I absolutely love the torso and leg combo. Next up, I've made a ranger using the parts from the Githyanki Warlock along with the Aarakocra Ranger's bow. The back prints on these figures are extremely versatile and this one for the Githyanki looks especially good. I've used a dark blue hood and the cape from Strahd and I absolutely love this blue color scheme. I also really like the spirals on the print. I just think it gives it a really unique look. Another thing I like is this red on the face print, which just gives a little pop of color and gives a bit more uniqueness to this ranger. Overall, I'm really happy with how she turned out. Next up, we have a couple of forest people that use parts from the Druid. I'm actually currently working on a faction for these guys, so make sure you subscribe and keep an eye out if you'd be interested in seeing that. I used these figures in particular because I wanted to show how good that back print is and how versatile the torso is overall. My favorite of these two figures has got to be this guy using Nori's beard from The Hobbit. I absolutely love the look, and combined with the two axes, he just gives this berserker vibe. Building these figs has definitely got me excited for making them into a full faction. For the other figure, I've got this assassin style figure with the old barbarian head from series 25. I absolutely love the Githyanki daggers and they give off a really cool vibe overall. I love this back print so much and I'm overall really happy with these figures. For the next minifigure, I've made a monster hunter using the parts from Tasha the Witch Queen. When I was first making this figure, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with her, but I like the idea of her being a monster hunter who hunts them down with her falcon and then takes them down with her spear. I gave her this dark red cloak and this hood piece that I'd never used before, but I really like the look of it. I gave her this cool hairpiece from Monster Fighters, and in it she carries an extra spear tip in case her spear breaks. I've used the Falconer's glove from the CMF, and I really like the asymmetrical arm look for this figure. I've also used this rubber tip spear, and I really hope this comes back again soon because it's such a beautiful mold. Overall, I really love this figure, but let's move on to the next one. Now, the Wolfpack are an awesome faction, but one that I haven't really worked on. So for this figure, I wanted to make a Wolfpack member. I used the legs from the Bard and then the arms from Strahd von Zarovich combined with this Series 16 Rogue torso, and I think they work really well together. I am considering erasing the fur printing from the right arm, but let me know your guys' thoughts on that in the comments. I also used Zaz Tam's collar piece to match up with the printing on the torso, but I'm not too sure about it, so let me know your thoughts on that as well. I really like this curved sword from Pharaoh's Quest, and I think it gives him a unique look from some of my other medieval figures. Overall, I'm really happy with this character and I love his unique expression. Next up, I've made a dwarf from the Dwarf Barbarian's torso. For this guy, I've used a big bushy dwarf beard from Fantasy Era, and then I've given him Gimli's helmet to match the brown with the torso. This guy has a wooden shield and then a custom pickaxe that I made using an ice skate. I've given him the short black legs instead of the medium ones because I think they work a lot better for an actual dwarf, and I think it helps with the scale compared to regular minifigures. He's honestly a pretty basic figure, but I really like the facial expression and just the overall look of this figure. Moving on, I've made an eagle paladin using the parts from the dragon paladin and the Aarakocra Ranger's head. Now, I don't think this character is going to be a permanent one in my fantasy world, but I saw someone use this cape to represent eagle wings, and I just had to make a figure using it. For the shield, I've used Jaco's shield from Knight's Kingdom 2, and it has an eagle on it, as well as a color scheme that works perfectly with this figure. For the weapon, I've modified the one from the Dragon Paladin to turn it into a spear, and I absolutely love how it looks with this figure. The colors match up to the ones on the shield, and it really ties the figure together. Although I'm probably going to take them apart after the video, I'm happy that I could make a cool figure using the Aarakocra's head. If you guys have made any cool figures with it, let me know in the comments. Moving on, I've made a couple figures using parts from the Tiefling Sorcerer. For these guys, I've taken the tax collector's parts from the medieval town square and mixed and matched them around, and I think they honestly work really well together. I've been considering using these parts to make a custom faction, but let me know if you guys have any interest in that in the comments. For the first minifigure, I've made an old maester using the Tiefling's torso and the tax collector's legs. I've just finished Game of Thrones, and I thought a maester was a really cool idea for these parts. I've given him Balin's beard from The Hobbit, and I think it really works well for an older, wiser figure. I also gave him the book from Tasha the Witch Queen because it just works really well with the character. With the remaining torso and legs, I've created a spearman, and I think these work super well together with their overall color scheme. This is essentially a rough draft to a custom faction, and I would love to hear your ideas in the comments. I love the look of the metallic silver with these prints, and then I've used this shield from the evil dwarf, and I think the colors match up really well. Overall, I would definitely recommend giving these parts mashups a try, but let's move on to the next one. For this figure, I've made a golden fire wizard using the parts from the Lady of Pain. These were definitely some of the harder parts to use in a custom, but I'm pretty happy with what I've came up with. I've combined this golden cape along with this golden hood from Ninjago, and I think it really gives the figure a mysterious look. I've also used this unique staff from Pharaoh's Quest because it was gold, although I do want to get an orange crystal to match up with his fire energy. I've used the orange fire piece from Zaz Tam, and then I've used a face print that has some gold markings, and I think it matches up really well with the vibe of the character. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the figure, but let me know how you guys have used the Lady of Pain's parts in your own customs. For the next figure, I've made this skeleton ghost type fig using the Mind Flayer's torso. I absolutely love the print on the Mind Flayer torso, and by saving the dress piece, it allows me to use it for some other figure. This ghostly leg part looks really cool, and I think it works perfectly with this black skeleton. I definitely want to make some figures similar to this when I eventually get to making my skeleton army, so make sure you subscribe and keep an eye out for that video. I've also included a ring wraith cape for this guy, and I think that tattered look as well as that over shoulder look just looks really good with the figure. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. For the next figure, I've made a fancy civilian using the Bard's torso. Now this torso isn't my favorite from the series, but it works pretty well for any sort of nobility or wealthier person. I've combined it with these fancy legs from Kingdoms, and the gold printing matches up pretty well, and it looks pretty good together. I've also used the head and hair combo from the Shakespeare CMF, and it just has a bit of a goofy look. I like it on this figure overall. For an accessory, I've just given him a basic walking stick. He's nothing too special, but he's just a civilian that I can add to my fantasy world. Overall, I'm happy with how he turned out. For my final figure, I've made a noblewoman using the dress and cape from Zaz Tam. Although Zaz Tam's torso is a bit harder to use, his dress piece is honestly really good for a bit of a fancier dress design, and I think it works really well with this torso. His cape also happened to work really well because of the dark red printing on the torso, so I threw that in as well. I really like the figure's face and hair combo, as I feel like it gives her a bit of a done up look, and that works really well for some sort of fancy royalty or noble. As an accessory, I included a golden chalice just to sort of complete the look, and I think it ties the whole figure together, almost as if she's at some sort of fancy event. Once again, it's a pretty basic figure, but I'm really happy with how she turned out. Anyways, that is it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you enjoy this style of content, let me know in the comments. I know this is my second video customizing the D&D figures, but if people have interest in a third, I'd be happy to make one. Let me know any suggestions for improvements in the comments below, and let me know which one of these figures was your favorite. Also, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like because it really means a lot. If you haven't already, consider subscribing because I make LEGO Castle content every Saturday. As always, thank you for watching.